Perfect.
So I'm going to officially call to order the 101st annual meeting of St. James Episcopal Church. Welcome, everybody, and I'll turn things over to Mother Dawn.
Thank you. And Pam McCausland, I should have checked with you. Are you ready to go?
I'm ready.
Okay, thank you so much for being our clerk.
You're welcome.
And everybody really appreciates it.
Thank you, Pam.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Okay.
We're not there yet.
All right.
We're going to have a prayer.
The Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Let us pray. Gracious God, we lift our praise to you for the gift of St. James Church. Our parish, dedicated to your word, is given by a century of saints, now remembered in love on this holy ground. This life-giving communion, through which we know you, comes from the history you established for all time. We give you grateful thanks for this, and for the hope we have, through Christ, of eternal communion. Lord, make us loving, generous, and imaginative as we strive to secure our second century. May we be found faithful to the traditions of St. James Church and eager servants of the future saints who will find the knowledge and love of you in this place for years to come. Amen.
Amen.
Now, pandemic was starting. The choir did a wonderful thing, and they started. They recorded our anniversary for us on video, and that's what I'm going to play.
Oh.
See?
Awesome.
I'm gonna.
Surrounded by our saints, of history, the strength of God's great mystery has granted
Yes.
His grace.
God, yeah, I do.
We look to one another to voices of families. We gather for the Eucharist, holy English teas. Sunday breakfast roasted English legacies of saints in training, shaping future centuries. Invite life into life, that full of generosity is rooted in reciprocity. Our faith has roots in love's great light, 100 years is just the start. 100 years is just the start.
Could not hear the accompaniment.
Well, I'm sorry about that.
That was really nice.
Okay, let's see. Here we go now.
Well, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for choir for doing that.
Yeah, that was Marlene. Maybe you can pop in and tell us when did you all record that?
I think we did it
probably about in May. I'm just going to guess because and I had a friend who was learning how to make these virtual choirs online, a friend in Nebraska. And so he put it together for us. We each recorded ourselves. Mm-hmm. And you can tell we weren't exactly all together all the time because we were new at it. But I really gave everybody credit. They all worked really hard to, they had to listen to a recording in their ear with an earbud or headphones, and then they had to sing. And so all they could hear was themselves singing. And then they had to send it to me, and I sent it to my friend, and he put it all together, sent it back to us. So it was an interesting learning project.
Thank you all. Thank you.
I wanted to mention, while I've got my microphone on, people who are at home, like all of us, if you're making comments to each other, if there's more than one of you and you're not muted, we can all hear what you're saying. So to avoid embarrassment, we might want to all just mute ourselves.
Thanks for the reminder. Yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Okay, let's see. The necrology. Whoop. I'm going to go by the hymn here. All the acknowledgement and thanks. The necrology. So let us take a moment of silence and remember those who have died this past year. In a moment, once our silence begins, I will read the names of those from our parish who have died in the last year. Let us remember those we've loved and who have gone before us. Jim Basham, Kathleen Cox, Catherine Gleisner, Kay Hoffman, Jim Lewis, Marilyn Mulligan, Josie Peggs, Caroline Rowley, Nancy Tapp, and Dick Williams. May their souls and the souls of all the departed, through the mercy of God, rest in peace. Now, I have a moment to talk about the Sabbath year, and I have this opportunity now to explain to you, if you haven't been on a small group or had the opportunity to talk to me one-on-one about the Sabbath year, I thought I would take this opportunity to explain to you how it came about and why we're having our elections the way we're having them today. Would you like to look at everybody while I'm doing this? Let's see. Last year in the fall, of course, we had elected our nominating committee from the beginning of the year. And it came time to start calling the nominating committee together to start working on gathering nominees for elected positions this year. This was in a time when we had finally realized that the pandemic was not going to be a really short-lived thing. It was going to last longer than we thought. We were taking in the information that it was probably going to be at least until the new year. And I think everybody was really just, it felt like a punch in the stomach to all of us. it was hard to gather the energy even to get the nominating committee to meet. We finally got most of the nominating committee together. And Joan and I had a conversation leading up to the nominating committee meeting that said, we're worried about how this meeting will go because it was so hard to get this meeting set up. And we know that it has been difficult in the last number of years to recruit volunteers to run for positions, to agree to be on the slate. And so I had an idea that this coming year should be a Sabbath year. And I didn't know how much more difficult this would become. But that in the Sabbath year, we could all be released from some of our burden. And clearly I realized that COVID was going to keep us from doing some things. The pandemic will keep us from having the oyster dinner. It will keep us from having the Old English tea. I don't know what else it will keep us from doing. It's keeping us from being able to worship together right now. So it was clear that this was going to be a different year. And so I decided to turn it to hopefully something positive and use the example that we had in the Old Testament from the Hebrew people who took on occasion a Jubilee year. Now it's depending on what situation you're talking about, Jubilee years could have been as often as once every 7 years, once every 50 years, or once every 100 years. But a Jubilee year or a Sabbath year was a year when the whole community agreed. We're not going to plant any crops this year. We are not going to work. We're going to trust in God to get us through the year. Everybody who owes a debt, all the debt will be forgiven. Anybody who's a slave will be released. It's a time to start over. And in the year, when we're not working, when we are released from our normal obligations, we use the time to reflect on our relationship with God while we're trusting God to get us through the year. We can reflect and use the time to draw more close to God. You know, when we have our busy lives, we get so invested in our daily schedule that it's easy to become distracted from this quiet spiritual stream that runs through our lives. And this is a year to give us an opportunity to make sure our feet are standing in that stream. The way it impacts our elections this year, Joan and I decided that what we would do is see if the nominating committee would agree, and then the vestry, that we would just hold over everyone who had been elected from the year before and not elect anyone at this annual meeting, and then go forward the next year and start from there. The nominating committee agreed with this, and they agreed to serve instead at the end of 2021, so to put their job off for a year. I explained this in a newsletter article near the end of the year in the, I think it was probably the Advent issue of the Seasons. Now, somebody at the diocese read this article, and you know, you could think, oh, this was Big Brother, but truly, I was just so happy to know that somebody from the diocese knew what we were doing, that I didn't take this the wrong way, but they contacted me and they said, you know, our diocesan canons say you have to have an election. You cannot have an annual meeting and not have an election. So the bishop and I worked together to find a way really to continue with the idea of having a Sabbath year, not asking anybody to take on anything new, and going ahead and having an election. So nearly everyone on the slate is someone you elected in a previous year, still serving in their capacity and agreeing to stay on for one more year, whether they're on vestry, endowment funds board, they're a delegate or an alternate, and the nominating committee agreeing to serve for another year. Everyone in these positions was able to agree to stay on, except for one person. And the only new person that we had to ask to agree to a new term is Mary Slum. Mary has been an Episcopalian all of her life. She's gone to several Episcopal churches. Some of you might know her from St. Stephen's and EFM groups, and also from Daughters of the King. But she has been active at St. James for the last several years. And I asked her to run for a one-year term as if it was a unfilled, unexpired term, so that she would be like everybody else who's being elected today for one more year. And she agreed to do that. She'll be on the vestry. So with your agreement, we will elect everybody on the slate today by acclamation. That means by a show of hands. So we need to be able to see everybody. If you can turn on your video, can you do that? And the reason I'm doing the election instead of Joan is because normally I would just handle the election of the wardens. But since we're going to do this in a simple way and elect by acclamation the entire slate, we'll just do one election, and Joan won't run it because she's on the slate. Joan will be elected to her third and final year as senior warden. Danny will be elected to his second of 3 years as junior warden. I want you all to know, everybody who has worked to contribute something to St. James this year, whether it's been your prayers or your giving, you have helped us maintain our community, our sense of the communion of saints, even when it has been incredibly difficult. I want to recognize Marlene Hallstrom, because she entered into, we went into the twilight zone, and we invented new ways to do things all the time. A lot of times we invented new ways to do things, and then we didn't even do it that way. So we felt like a lot of times we worked and then we just had to turn away from what we had produced because we wanted whatever we did to be the best thing for the congregation. Marlene was always willing to help, the first to volunteer, the most cheerful about pitching in for everything we had to figure out for this strange pandemic year. And I really, really appreciate it. We had staff changes through the year. Susie Stallings started as our bookkeeper. Deb Gruver started as our new administrative assistant in the parish office. Jose Alonso and his wife Maribel are still doing our janitorial services, but on a smaller scale while we're shut down in pandemic. And Chelsea Whipple is still working with us as our program director, but while the pandemic is on, she is working for us part-time. Everybody has had to reinvent their job and reimagine what they do. I very much appreciate the support of the vestry, and they're hearing me worry about everything that happened all year. They were a tremendous support and counsel of advice. And I don't want to forget the people who also helped make worship happen. We had special things from the choir and from instrumentalists, from musicians, from the bell choir. But please don't forget that there were a couple of other people behind the scenes. Danny Blair and Randy Harrison did things I didn't know were possible and made it look easy to let us go into the parking lot and worship so it could be safe for us outside, and try and let us hear it over our car radios or over a public address system in the parking lot. They've worked on the sound system in the church. Anybody who has troubles with hearing can take advantage of a new hearing assist system that'll be in place when we come back to worship in the church. But these two men have done a tremendous thing for our parish to keep our worship going through this year. And I hope if you see them and if you have an opportunity to give them your thanks. I see Deacon Jeff giving them the thumbs up. Deacon Jeff also has been one who has been so faithful, showing up every time we record to be a part of our community of worship. And Jeff, I just give you a tremendous amount of thanks. So, having recognized so many people for contributing everything they have, and everyone else who I didn't recognize by name, but who I hope knows in their hearts how much they are appreciated. Let's turn from this to the business at hand, and let's see. We have a slate of candidates available for election today. All those in favor of electing these people to office, please raise your hand. All those not in favor of electing these people to office, please raise your hand. It looks like the vote is unanimous. Thank you all very much. Everyone on the slate is elected to their year of service during this Sabbath year, and we give you grateful thanks. God bless you all. Okay. Now, I think it's not my turn anymore. Let's see. Oh, sorry guys. I know if this makes you busy, look away for a second. Okay. All right, now we'll move on to the business reports from the parish. First to be called on is Hugh Goodpasture. Hugh, I think your title is President of the Endowment Funds Board. You can
chair, something like that.
Yeah. Would you talk to us?
Yes. The Endowment Funds Board report is with the materials that is a good summary prepared by Tom Gosson. I just mentioned that it includes the members of the Endowment Funds Board and what our activities have been in 2020. Call your particular attention to the fact that the appreciation in the endowment fund was $78,000, a little over $78,000 during the last year. And we also, that included, well, in addition to that, there was $6,000, $6,500 donated through the memorial fund giving program. Let's see, I guess the main thing, the fund board meets monthly on Thursdays, fourth Thursday of the month. And I think we made all those meetings this year. Essentially, we have a joint meeting in November, December.
Hugh, is this what you want me to show right now?
Yeah, that just shows basically the summary of the fund's finances or the financials. Mm-hmm. And then also Tom Gosson has prepared this. It's very nice. There's a history of the role of the endowment fund in supporting the church since the trust was set up in 1992. And basically you can see on that report that during the year, the funds distributed $21,400 some dollars to the church and to the programs of the church, including the outreach program. And the details of that are listed in the report above, but basically you can see that, let's see, in number 4, paragraph 4, there gives you the breakdown on the way the money was distributed. Every year, about $11,000 of the distribution is retained by the fund for future capital needs. It's available to the vestry to spend if there's a capital need, but it's retained in the fund to appreciate value. About I think $3,400 or so went to outreach, and outreach recommended that that fund or those monies be sent to
Breakthrough ESS.
Yeah, to Breakthrough ESS, and then the Endowments Fund Board had about $2,500 of expenses, mostly went to the publication of the Perpetual Memorial and Endowment Fund annual report. And that has been distributed based on the financials at the end of September each year. And so if there are any questions or comments on the endowments fund, I'd be glad to respond. Tom Gosson, I think you're here. Tom's our godfather. He kind of keeps us on track and keeps everything us meeting our responsibilities. Tom, do you have any additional comments you want to make?
I'm not sure he's there.
I thought he was. He's right there.
No,
I don't know if he can hear me, whether anybody can hear me. Did we unmute ourselves?
There. No, you're there.
I am.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
The other main focus of the Endowments Fund Board has been on trying to further develop the Legacy Society. Some of our plans in doing that have had to change, obviously, because of the pandemic, and but we are in the process of sending out letters explaining the Legacy Society to the members of the church, and will be the first letter to go out is from Barry, and that will be sent out this month. In fact, maybe it's sent out now. And again, it's important for the members of the church to realize that the Legacy Society is a very important activity in terms of the long-term success of the ministry of the church. And we all need to be thinking about participating in that. So anyway, that's our plan for the foreseeable future, is to try and do that through solicitation letters. Becoming a member of the Legacy Society doesn't require you to contribute any specific amount. It just has to do with what you have to do is testify or in a written response that you have made some consideration of the church in your estate planning, and nobody has to know what that is, and that's all, until obviously your estate is closed. But it's something that in general, the efforts we've made to get membership, I think we have 33 members now, but the efforts we've made to get membership, people are very willing to do it. I think it's a hassle to do. That's the problem. And so we're trying to think of ways that we can encourage them to go ahead and simplify things. It doesn't have to be a change in your will. It doesn't have to be writing a new will. It doesn't have to be incurring large legal fees. For most people, it can be a matter of making some kind of secondary beneficiary assignment in your 401k or your IRA or an insurance policy. And nobody, the idea is not that we're expecting huge contributions from each member. If everybody does some small contribution, it's going to make a significant difference, particularly if you can get the money invested. So anyway, that's one of the main focuses we've had in the last year, is trying to improve and develop the Legacy Society.
Hugh, thank you very much. Okay, let's see. Is Danny on the agenda? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, Danny's next.
I'm just in there somewhere.
All right. Danny, do you want me to show anything during your report?
No, unless you have a picture of our copper gutters.
I will show that while you're talking. You go right ahead.
I'm gonna make Joan and Dawn nervous here and go off track just slightly. I just want to say we are not masters of technology, and I'm thankful for the technology that we have been able to get our arms around and use to share our services and all that. I want to throw out a big thanks to Mother Dawn and to our vergers and to our choir and to Marlene and to our deacons and to everybody that gets together and figured out how to make videos and put them on YouTube and, do all that creative stuff. I can assure you, I would have failed in that mission. I don't think I would have been able to accomplish that, but they did. And I just want to say thank you for all you've done.
You're in church, stop lying.
I'm not. I was just going to report on our roof. Oh, there it is. We were able to, before the weather got bad, get the entire roof replaced. Okay. The roof on the original buildings and the slate part, not including the two new additions, the office room and the portico, those were slate and they were in very good condition, or are in very good condition. And then all the flat roof on the additions that connected all the pieces, where you come in the big red doors and walk down the hall either direction, those roofs have been replaced with a very high quality felt back TPO. But the main roof, it was stripped all the way down and a new layer of material put on top of it, OSB sheathing. And then it had a water barrier applied all the way to the top, not just felt, but a peel and stick water barrier. And then this is a Da Vinci shingle that's made right, well, the company is right here in Kansas, in Olathe, Kansas. And it is a synthetic slate, and it almost completely accurately duplicates our original slate. In fact, if you go, when the weather's better, don't do it today. When the weather's better, if you go walk around, you'll have a hard time distinguishing it from the rest of the slate that's on the newer sections. And then all the flashings, all the counter flashings, all the gutters, all that has been replaced, and it's, I hope, good to go for another 100 years. Some of the real advantages to us deciding to go this route, the Da Vinci, is that it's tremendously more weather resistant. In other words, it resists hailstones and wind better than slate, which is a huge plus. So it should, and it took an enormous amount of weight off of our old roof, which to me was a really big thing. When you've got 100-year-old framing up there, if you can give it a break, that's a good thing. So anyway, that mission is accomplished. It looks great, and it should serve us for a long time. Oh, and we didn't pay for it. It was done through insurance proceeds. Woody Swain began that process when he was junior warden, and volunteered to stick with them as the person that communicated with the insurance company, and we were able to get that accomplished. So thank you, Woody, for your help.
Thank you, Danny. You did a great, Danny, truly, you've been doing a great job as senior warden. We will give you 1 year of rest between as required, and then you'll be junior warden again when the time comes.
Yeah, junior warden. I think Joan is doing a great job as senior warden.
Yes.
I'm stumbling along as junior warden.
Well, thank you for everything you're doing.
Well, you're more than welcome.
Let's see. And oops, I went in the wrong order, didn't I? No? Okay, Woody, so you're next. I'll bring up the report on the screen while you talk.
Okay. Yeah, on page 12 of your annual report, I gave a report from the treasurer, as well as a table of our actual financial revenue and expenses for 2020, and then what's been approved as our budget for 2021. As for 2020, our revenues exceeded our expenses by just over $23,000. That's good news, I think. And we're carrying that cash over into our operations in 2021. Kudos to our parishioners, to our congregation, for your faithful giving. I mean, you're over 80% of that $600,000 in revenue, and it's the most important part in many ways. This was supplemented also by funds from the Fleming bequest for our Christian education mission, and also from the annual draw that we get from the endowment fund. Also, we had a PPP loan, payroll protection program loan, through the Federal Small Business Administration. Bert Clark, our former treasurer, applied for that and was able to secure it. So the $53,800 was also revenue that we got in 2020. And more good news, that loan was forgiven. And when we took it out, we thought it would be, but officially it's been forgiven. So essentially that loan turned into a grant. On the expense side, the expenses were roughly $70,000 than what was budgeted for 2020. So I think good expense management on the part of our staff and the rest of the church. For 2021, we used an assumption of 3 months online, January through June, and then July through December, we're assuming that we'll be meeting in person at the church. I mean, this drives certain costs so far as janitorial services, some staff costs, some utilities costs, those types of things. So with that underlying assumption, and we know it's not going to be perfect, but we had to use something. On the revenue side, we're estimating $635,000 of revenue. We just concluded our stewardship campaign, just over $400,000 worth of pledges, and then additional giving that we normally get from non-pledged giving. That constitutes the 635. And again, we're looking at 75% of the revenue coming from giving. Endowment fund and the Fleming bequest add roughly $75,000 to the revenue. And then the SBA came out with a second PPP program, which we applied for. And we received, a couple of weeks ago, we received just over $74,000 on that. And we fully expect it to also turn into a grant in about 6 months from now when we apply for forgiveness. Okay, expenses, we're forecasting that they're going to be up just about $55,000. You know, we met in person really only for about 3 months in 2020. We're hoping for twice as much in 2021. So that increases expenses. We've got some additional funding there for a sabbatical rector and also a professional video tech to help with the online portion of the services. And I believe we intend to continue with YouTube videos even once we start meeting again in person, and that video tech will help us with that. So anyway, I'd like to acknowledge the hard work of our prior treasurer, Bert Clark. I assumed this role in October, so most of 2020 was due to his hard work as treasurer. And then also Paul Clark, our bookkeeper, did a fine job. He retired in August, and then fortunately Susie Stallings took over as our current treasurer, our current bookkeeper. And glad to have Susie on board in that role and appreciate her hard work. So anyway, you know, being a new treasurer, preparing this budget has opened my eyes to how important faithful giving is by our congregation to sustaining our spiritual life here at St. James. I mean, it's definitely supplemented by other funding, but by far the most important part is faithful giving by us, the congregation. So anyway, any questions at this stage? Be glad to try to answer any questions there. And if not, you can, you know, my contact information is in the e-tower, and I think also probably in the annual report. So feel free to ask questions at any time.
Am I unmuted? Yeah, you can hear me, Woody?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Kate Miller. I helped with the stewardship campaign, and I feel really strongly that as soon as we can get back into the church, that giving will increase significantly for especially people that have not pledged yet. Or so I really think that's going to be incremental in the giving to increase. And so I'm looking forward to being back in church.
Yep, I share your view, Kate. Any other questions or comments? Okay. All right, that concludes my piece, Mother Dawn.
Whoops. Thank you so much, Woody. You have done a tremendous job for us. We really appreciate it. Okay, now, Joan.
Okay, good morning. I am ready to make some remarks on the state of our parish. By the way, my name is not up there. I'm not Wichita Collegiate. I'm Joan Moore, but I Zoom so much for work at home that it signed me in on that Zoom account. So good morning. What is the state of our parish? Well, we were supposed to have just finished a brilliant and beautiful year of celebrating our church's 100th anniversary. But so many plans laid by such creative volunteers did not come to fruition after all. We had to take a big pause because of COVID, but as soon as we can, we want to reassure you that we will continue our celebration of our historic anniversary. We still want to dream, we still want to celebrate, and we want all of you to still hope and dream that we can still have a capital campaign. After all, how many times will we get to ask our parish to participate in raising funds for our 100th anniversary? Only once will this occur. I do have some exciting news to tell all of you. Some of our early donors to our capital campaign, people who knew the ask was coming and chose to give early in 2020 to celebrate our 100th anniversary, have made it possible for two very beautiful projects to happen while we're physically absent from our church home. We are ordering and installing new flooring in the church lounge. I promise you it will not be blue carpet. And we are ordering and installing new pew cushions for all the pews in the nave. Both of these beautiful additions will be in place later this year under the guidance of Danny Blair, hopefully in time for all of us to come and worship together and share in fellowship together. Many churches in the Wichita area are moving full steam ahead with services every week. We see that across the street from us at St. James. But we have taken the cautious route and are following Bishop Kathleen's orders. So we will not be holding in-person services before Palm Sunday. But hopefully after that, we will be together again in church. I want to thank Mother Dawn for all of the very hard work that she has done to organize and manage all of the online services that have been produced for St. James. We could not have been together virtually except for her leadership and for all the hard work of Marlene, of Deacon Jeff, of Chelsea, and even of Susie Stallings, Deb Gruver, Jose, and our new videographer. All of the staff came together to make sure every week it was possible for us to worship together virtually. I want to thank Woody for taking over as our treasurer in the middle of Bert's term so that Bert could truly relish in his new role as a new daddy. It has been great working with Woody again in this new role. And I want to thank Danny Blair for all the hard work he has done to get on our new roof while managing all of the physical needs of St. James, acting as stage manager with Randy Harrison's expertise for all of our virtual and parking lot services. I want to thank the vestry for their dedication and commitment to our church during these very difficult times. They love and support our church through thick and thin. But most of all, I want to thank all of you, the members of St. James Parish. Thank you for your patience, your support. Thank you for financially carrying us through this very scary year of 2020. We could not have gotten through our fiscal year without your commitment to make your pledges and for sending in extra funds whenever you could, just to make sure that we kept moving forward. You did, and thank you. I believe the state of our parish is strong and resilient, determined and calm. We will move out of this difficult phase into a glorious and refreshed phase. When we can come back to worship together, it will be absolutely glorious, and I cannot wait. God bless all of you, and God bless St. James for her next 100 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Joan. You have just blessed us with your leadership this year, and I couldn't be more grateful for everything you have done for me as senior warden and as a friend behind the scenes to keep morale up and keep leadership strong. So I give you my heartfelt thanks. Thank you very much. Now, let's see. Are there any announcements that anyone has for the good of the whole? This is where we would normally have Matt Carroll running to the front of the room and starting the sale of the oyster dinner tickets. And then other people would think of announcements that they'd like to make. This would be while we were frantically finishing. Oh, I see Ann Clark has something. This would be while we were frantically finishing the counting of the ballots. Ann, what do you have to say this year? Let me give you a spotlight. I'm learning how to do this. Add spotlight. Okay, there you go.
So I just want to say, even though we haven't been able to do the any of the actual in-person events, we did get the book done for our 100th anniversary. So they are for sale at the church office. Just go bug Deb. She's helping me out on this, but it's 100 pages long, full color. It talks about all of the different pieces and parts of the church from its very beginning of the church, including pictures of historical documents, all the way to the oyster dinner and the tea, as well as information on all of the rectors that have been in our midst. So encourage you to go pick one up at the church office. They're $25 if you'd like them to be sent to you, an additional $5 for shipping. So it has the initial drawing that Overend did for us at the very beginning in 1920. And then we put Bill Graffier's painting on the back of the book for us too. So
terrific.
It's beautiful, Anne. I'm just impressed. Oh my gosh, that you could get that all done.
Thank you. It was a lot of fun putting it together.
It was. I would have had a nervous breakdown.
And who worked with you on putting that together?
Oh, lots of people did. Let me look real quick. Patsy Abishire, Deb Bagby, Crystal Barber, Clay Bastian, Peg and Richard Bowman, Louise Brenniger, Deb Brenniger, Dee Dee Evans, Tim Flynn, Denise Gorgany, Tom Gosson, Susan Graybill, Deb Hager, Kelly and Kurt Harper, Robin Henry, Ashley Mather, April Pamatiski, Jay Price, Sue Reynolds, Jeff Roper, Paul Skinner, my mom, Teresa Snyder, Susie Stallings, Racine Zakula, and many others, as well as a couple of historians, Hazel Branch, Bev Calvert, and Marge Ryan, who had started compiling things for us, made it a little bit easier too.
Absolutely.
Well done. Well done.
And two of those historians, Marge Ryan and Bev Calvert, are still alive, and both are in different states of health, in living in facilities. Marge has COVID.
Oh,
it would be good to keep her in your prayers. Of course, we keep all of our parish in our prayers, but send up a special one for Marge. And Bev is recovering and being supported in like, well, what can I say? Independent living or assisted living in a facility in Texas. So she'll be there probably for the rest of her life, but she's happy there and doing physical therapy and carrying on her life and able to help us with the history of the book. So
who's that, Mother Dawn?
Bev,
Who's in Texas?
Bev Calvert.
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh. Okay, any other announcements? You'll have to wave your arm to make sure I see you.
Bert and the baby have the same haircut.
Yes, they do. Okay, let's see.
Deb has an announcement.
Yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for being so welcoming to me. You know, it's a very different job than I've ever had before. I used to supervise administrative assistants and I used to have administrative assistants, and everyone has been super nice to me, and it's a very loving environment, and I appreciate that.
We appreciate you.
To have you, Deb. Thank you so much.
This is Helen. I just wanted to thank Chelsea Whipple and some of the other people she's drafted to help with the adult Sunday school, adult forum on Sunday mornings by Zoom. It's been very, very exciting to be part of that. And also I want to thank Phil Sperry for his work on Wednesday nights with the Wednesday night Bible study, which is also just awesome. So yeah. Thank you to all those folks.
Absolutely. We've had a lot of our small group activities carry on through this year online. And they've really kept a lot of the fellowship of our parish going and alive. Thank you to everybody who's participated and shared leadership in that. Anybody else want to wave your arm and say something? Okie doke, Marlene.
Okay, there we go. I think.
Wait. Now you're muted. There you go. There you go.
Okay, speaking of classes, I am preparing a class on, or discussion group on hymns and hymnody, the history and our knowledge about hymns. And we'll be putting out information for that to start sometime in March during Lent. If you are interested in participating and you'd like to pick up a hymnal, we have some in the front hallway of the church where you can check one out. So you would have a resource to follow along. And if you just watch on the e-tower, I will have it'll be on Zoom, and I will have the specifics in a couple of weeks.
Thank you very much. That people who have missed participating music-wise, I hope will look forward to that one. All right.
Mother Dawn.
Uh-huh.
Mother Dawn, it's Nisha. I just want to say how wonderful it is to see everyone's face.
It sure is. It's fantastic.
It feels like we've been on a long trip and been gone a long time.
Boy, it's been a long darn trip.
It sure has.
Yes.
To see everyone.
Uh-huh. Thank you for saying that, Nisha. It's great to see everybody.
Mother Dawn, it's Joan.
Uh-huh.
If nobody else has any announcements, I guess I kind of make the last one, and we can officially adjourn the meeting. I'm going to ask you to close in prayer, but does anybody else have any other announcements?
Catherine, you've waved your hand a couple times. Do you have something?
Oh, really, the only thing I wanted to say, somebody else has already said, but it was just about the Zoom things that we're doing. you know, the book studies, the Bible studies, they are a lifeline to so many people. And I appreciate them and, you know, how much effort's gone into them, because for me personally, it was really a lifeline for me. I was really in a bad place and was really struggling with isolation. So that's really been a blessing. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay, so before we adjourn, and again, we have time if anybody wants to make any other announcements or say anything. I don't want to cut anybody off.
I won't turn the meeting off after you call the end of the meeting, Joan, and anybody who wants to stay on and chat afterward, I'll leave it on for a while.
Okay, that's a great idea. Before we adjourn, I just want to let everyone know you're going to be seeing more information in the e-tower about Mother Dawn's sabbatical, but I do want to reassure you there is an extensive multi-page plan in place that Mother Dawn created, that the executive committee of the vestry has reviewed, all of the staff have reviewed. The vestry has a meeting this Thursday. We will review it. Just so you know, there are very detailed plans in place for what happens from March 1st through June 20th for Mother Dawn's sabbatical. So I have to tell you all, when she told me she was going to go ahead and take a sabbatical, it freaked me out a little bit, because I thought, oh my gosh, you know, how are we going to do this? But we are, and we have wonderful supply clergy to help us, and we will continue to have Deacon Jeff's help and our vergers. I mean, we're just gonna keep moving on like we've been going, and we're excited. It's gonna be fun. It's gonna be a different experience. We're gonna miss you, Mother Dawn, but I'm so happy that you're gonna have this opportunity to refresh your life, your heart, your soul. You've worked so hard, and you know, it's your 10th year anniversary, so you know, you have earned this sabbatical. So,
and also we have something more to look forward to in June also. For those of you who don't know, we have a curate starting with us for a 2-year term in June. His name's Dylan Green. He's went to seminary straight out of college. Oh, it all runs together, doesn't it? He went to seminary straight out of college. He's like 24, 25 years old.
Wow.
And he's graduating in May. He'll be ordained deacon in June, and he'll start serving with us in June, part-time, 2 Sundays a month for 2 years. So that'll be great to have him on board starting in June also.
Yeah. Now, Mother Dawn, while you're on sabbatical, you're giving us all your personal number so that we can get in touch with you if we need you, right? Oh, look at Deb. Deb Gruver.
Hey, Joan?
Yes.
In terms of freak out level, look at it this way. A sabbatical means she's coming back. And we can be very thankful about that.
Yes, absolutely true. Yes. That's the only thing that kept me, you know, calm. So
don't believe any rumors to the contrary.
I would like to add that I went online to listen to Father Green. He's done a few sermons that are on YouTube, and so I was very, very impressed. He's young, but he speaks with tremendous spiritual authority.
Great.
Well, thanks for that. That's good to know.
He's been involved in youth stuff since I was at Camp Wood as a staff member from 2002, 2002 all the way through. So I've known him for a long time. He was at St. Paul's with the Canterbury House up at K-State, and does wonderful sermons, in my opinion, anyway. So
good.
Terrific.
Well, yet another thing for us to look forward to. When we all come together, I'm really looking forward to that.
Okay, so the closing prayer. Let us pray. Almighty and ever-living God, ruler of all things in heaven and earth, hear our prayers for this parish family. Strengthen the faithful, arouse the careless, and restore the penitent. Grant us all things necessary for our common life, and bring us all to be one of one heart and mind within your holy church, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
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 Amen.